Okay, welcome back to real life, real class, real. Oh my goodness. Midterms are over in my class, except for a couple of people. So let me point this out. Before you watch this video, check your grade. It was sent through the CTL system. It's one of those notices that pops up. You're going to see some numbers, and it's going to scare you like crazy, probably. Today's class is going to talk about the test, how the scores were created, and what those raw scores, the number that you see, means in terms of a grade, means in terms of what you can expect in this class. Okay, so stop the video if you haven't checked your grade. Print it out, save it somewhere, make a note. It will have a number for each of the test questions in your interview, and it will have a total. And you'll want that information as I walk through today's video. So stop the video if you haven't got it. You can restart the video, no problem. There's no issues with stopping and coming back. It just means you have to watch the whole thing, A to Z, non-stop, to get your credit. And if you watch this and you haven't gotten your grade, then you're wasting your time, mostly. And there are 2 people who, at this moment, haven't yet taken the test. Do not watch this video until you take the test. If you watch this video before you take the test, you lose 1 letter grade at the end of the semester, minus 1 grade. So if you got a B plus in my class, your grade will be C plus because you cheated. Alright? Because you cheated. Cheated means black heart, means evil person. In America, if you cheat, many universities kick you out of school forever. Other schools give you an automatic F in that class. I'm saying minus 1 letter grade. This midterm is not very important for a grade. Don't mess it up. One more time. If you did not get your grade, check for your grade before you watch this video. And if you did not yet do your 1-to-1 interview midterm in this class, stop this video. Do not watch until you have tested with me. There are 2 people. 2 people who need to test. Okay, the evil talk is done. Now, let's move forward. Upcoming things to worry about. First of all, Wednesday, May 20th is a holiday. It's School Foundation Day. Isn't that fantastic? You don't care in my class because we don't have a meeting on Wednesdays. But for your other classes, check. Because for online classes, some professors, including me, some professors will do classes because it's a school holiday, but since we're not at school, why do we care? Now I'm going to turn on my little mini air conditioner. It's not really an air conditioner. It's kind of a water cooler, but it's already getting to be warm weather. It's May 17 for me, Sunday night, 10 p.m. And it's already getting to be warmer weather, and I'm wearing a tie, and I have lots of lights, and it's going to get hot. So I'm going to turn this on. And I practiced the recording, and it wasn't too noisy, so I think it's going to be okay, but I will turn it off in a little bit. So, things that are upcoming besides May 20th. We need to do a notebooks review. Remember, you sent me your notebooks? And I just kind of looked at them really quick and gave fast feedback like, okay, I see, we need to work harder, blah, blah, blah. Well, the next notebook review is actually important. It's a grade. Usually, I collect notebooks at the end of the midterm. When people do their one-to-one interview, they leave their notebook with me. But I didn't do that this semester because grading is a lot harder for me this way. I can't just make a photocopy of my grades and hand them out to all the students in the next classroom. So things are a little busy. We need to plan when will I collect notebooks. Now, in our Zoom class on Thursday morning, we can talk about that. When do you want to collect notebooks? The reason is, if we wait to the end of the semester and you're not doing a good job, you die. It's my second chance to tell you, you got to work harder. Right? So when do we want to do a second notebooks review? We'll talk about that in the Zoom class. If I start to forget, remind me. We also need to have a discussion in the Zoom about which chapters to do in the book. We can skip some, we can skip a bunch, we can do all of the next 5 in a row, or we can do 1 or 2 and do some other things. I have other things we could do. So we need to talk a little bit about what you want to do. In this class, we will start chapter 5. In this recording, we will start chapter 5. The turnaround. Because that idea is increasingly useful and important in the public sector. Government is more and more looking at problems and saying, we just can't accept this anymore. We're losing too much money. We need to turn things around. So we'll talk about that. Okay? So let's talk about tests. But before we do that, we should talk about the taxes and fees video. Take a look. I can see as of Sunday night, 10:03 p.m., only 3 people have watched the video, which is part of last week. And 2 people look like they have started it, it's incomplete or whatever, but 10 people haven't even bothered. Okay. Last week, maybe people had tests. Right? People had tests. I think a lot of people didn't. A lot of professors decided not to do tests, to do little reports or something, but maybe you're busy. But my plan is on Wednesday to talk about taxes and fees special lecture. Now remember, I told you I will not put this special lecture on the final test. And I won't. But we could have a quiz. The recording was designed to have a quiz. And I have that quiz available. And I could give it to you if I see people aren't watching or people aren't paying attention. Because it's kind of important. And in EPA3, we touch on a lot of different public administration topics. And so public finance is a perfectly good topic. Okay? In the beginning of the semester, we do the basics. We talk about content and language. We do the first few sections in the book because it's a nice starter. But in the second half of the semester, we can be a lot more eclectic. Eclectic. Eclectic means to do this and that. Lots of different things. Sampling. So, taxes and fees video. Alright, back to the test. So finally there were only 8 questions on the interview. I wrote 9 because somehow or another I got confused. I thought that we had read Young Public Servant for a Day in this class. I know I did it EPA1. And I usually do Young Public Servant for a Day in this class. But while I was testing, not the first or second student, but the third or fourth or fifth student said, Professor, we didn't do that. And I was shocked. And I'm in the middle of tests, and I can't really check much except to look at my PowerPoint and say, oh, okay, it's not in the PowerPoint. So did we talk about it in a recording? Well, now I can't be sure, except to go through all the Zooms and all the recorded videos, and I wasn't confident, and I didn't want to make life too hard for people, so I threw that question out. So instead of 9 questions, we have 8. A few people got a Young Public Servant for a Day question. I threw it away. No score. Other people didn't get that. 8 questions. Question number 3 was thrown out. I'm yawning. I'm tired. Each question was worth 2 points. Now, for anyone who's also taking EPA1, not all the questions there are exactly the same points, and especially not in the paper test. But for this class, each of the class questions was worth 2 points. So that makes 16 points. 8 times 2 equals 16. Remember your math? So 16 is a perfect score, and one person in our class, one person, let's think it that way, is perfect. But I'm not going to tell you who that is, because he or she might be shy. In our syllabus, we know that there are 20 points for the midterm. Now, again, there's only 16 points on the test. That means there has to be some adjusting. Please know that I grade midterms tough. It's my philosophy. My philosophy is midterms have a final test standard. So you know what the final test is like. Same standards. Perhaps even some of the same questions. Perhaps. But I penalize lightly. There's a low penalty for not doing well. I want you to know that you got a D and you're not studying well, if that's true. But the penalty is low, so if you got an A, you got 20 points out of 20. If you got a B, you got 19 points out of 20. It's only -1 for the final class, right? The final class is 100 points. If you got a C, it's 18 out of 20. If you got a really low C, you got 17 out of 20. And if you did very, very poorly, you got a D, which means your final score is adjusted to 16. All right? So nobody got lower than 16 if they take the test. That means -4. That means you could still have 96 in this class, and that makes a plus final grade. The midterm score doesn't hurt you. It's supposed to tell you if you're doing well or if you need to work harder. That's my philosophy. Maybe I'm a jerk. Maybe I'm not kind. I have had students come to my office and cry after midterms. And that makes me sad. But I have also seen a lot of students wake up and start studying. And especially this remote teaching semester, this distance learning semester. It's too easy for students to feel like everything's easy and they don't work, and you gotta wake up. It's a real semester. It's gonna be on your real report card. So yeah, I grade tough. So what are our scores? Well, there were 16 points possible. If you got 16 or 15 points, that's an A. You got 20 points. Congratulations. You did well. Now remember, 16 is approximately 1/6 of 100, right? 16 times 6 is 96, so it's 6.4 or something like that. We'll understand that in just a moment. If you got a 14 or a 13, that's a B. So 13 out of 16 means minus 3. 3 times 6.5 is 18.5. 18.5 out of 100 is 82.5. I know I can do it in my head. I can't talk about it. So I'm going to show you. Doing math in your head can be hard. Doing math in a different language can be harder. 6 times 6.4. 6.4 equals 100. Isn't that right? Let's confirm. Calculator. 100 divide by 16. I'll move this over so I can see it. Equals 6.25. So if you got 13 right, that means you missed the 3. Alright? So back to our calculator. Times 3 equals 18.75. Now here's the part where calculators confuse me. 18.75 minus 100 equals 81.25. Don't care about the minus. You know that a B is usually like 80%. So 81.25 is a fair B. If you missed 3, 13 out of 16 is 81 point, so it's B. But Professor, I only missed 3. Yeah, but you missed 18.75%. Okay, so if you got 12 or 11 correct points, right? You got a C. And your final score will be 18 out of 20. You lost 2 from your final class grade. If you got 10 or 9, you know, you're down in the 67% range now. Officially, that's a C minus for my midterms. And that's 17. You lost 3 points. If you got 8 points or less, you got half the total points, 50% of the points or less. Well, that's a D. That gives you 16 out of 60. Let's try out of 20. Whoosh. 16 out of 20. Only minus 4 in your final grade. You still have a 96 possible. You still have an A+ possible in my class. You're not dying, but you need to work. Now, you experienced my test. You know that, well, you have to understand English to answer my questions. Some of my questions are English test questions. But a bunch of my questions are Hengjung or stuff I talked about in class. They're not about English. So some people have really good English and don't study in my class and get killed. And some people whose English isn't very good, but they show me that they're working and that they're trying to understand and they're giving me answers that are pretty good. Not doing too bad. Not doing too bad. Not doing too bad. Now, I'm sure there's people wondering, well, oh, it's not fair. What are the grades? What's the curve? Well, yeah, there's a curve, but it's not really exactly one student versus another. It's really based on my past experiences, and it's based on this idea that, pretty much 80% is the bottom of a B, something like that. Notice I do not give Fs. I don't give an F on a midterm. I don't give an F on a final. If you are trying in my class, if you are working hard in my class, I promise you no grade less than C pool. I promise. But if you're not working hard, if you don't do your notebook, if you don't do your listening, if you don't seem to care about your test, well, you don't do your assignments, well, then I don't promise you a C+. And I've had great students get a D. Great English speakers get a D and ask me to give them an F so that they can get it erased. And I'm sorry, no. I'm not going to give an F to anybody who comes to class and tries. And if you absolutely don't give a darn, please drop the class. Because you don't want a D0 on your grade. I don't give D pool. There's no reason to give a D plus. I don't give a D plus. There's no reason for it. If you can't get a C plus in my class, well, if you really mess up a lot, you might get a C0. And if you really don't care and I can see that, I'll give you a D0. There's no D plus in my class. There's no F in my class for people who come to class and try. A lot of students who think they should get an A don't because their notebook is garbage. Because they didn't do the listening. Oh, I don't need to do it. Well, in my class you do. Sorry. Welcome to the real world. When you have your boss is going to say, do this. Oh, I don't think I need to. Well, yeah, you do. Life is not fair. Get over it. The rest of your life, you will know life is not fair. And sometimes you'll be the lucky one. And other times you won't. And there are a few people who are born with that silver spoon. And Korea talks about gold spoon, right? America, we only have silver. We don't talk about gold spoon. But, platinum spoon, gold spoon, silver spoon. And then there's a whole bunch of us, like me, who grew up with a wooden spoon. Korean says earthen spoon, right? A few Koreans say wooden spoon. I like wooden spoon better. Earthen spoon to me sounds like ceramic, which could be dojagi, which could be really nice. So I usually say a wooden spoon. Anyway, wooden chopsticks, wooden spoon. How did it come out? One person got a 16, nobody got 15. 5 people got a 14 or a 13, that's a B. Well, 5 out of 13 people is more than 30%. So the B's are all right. If we're looking at a curve kind of a thing, 30 to 40% B sounds right. 30% A would be right, but it's not this time. So we have 13 scores. 1 out of 13 is like 8%. 5 out of 13 is like more than 33. It's closer to 36, 37%. 1 C. There should be 30% or more C's. No C minuses. And almost half the class got less than half of the grades right. Less than half of the points. And that means people need to work harder. Because some of the questions were English questions and some of them were right out of my book. Right out of my book. That means Untitled Chapter or whatever. And now that you're depressed, I'm depressed. I like to give good grades. But I don't give away good grades. You got to earn them. Let's take a look at the test. I've got your test questions here. I'm going to walk through them. I'm going to talk through them. Question number 1, worth 2 points, was the please introduce yourself question. And there's 2 versions. One is you're a student. Well, how many times have we talked about this? Hi, my name is Kim Jung-min. My family name is Kim. Please call me Jung-min. I'm a third-year student of public administration at Kim University in Daegu. That's enough. And if you want to freestyle, you better be short, and you better get all the information that we're looking for in there, or you lose. Because I don't really care what your other professor taught you. When you're in a class, give the professor what he wants. And why am I telling you this? This is my first-hand experience. When I was a university student, in my major, I took a test. And I wrote, it's an essay type test, and I wrote the answers that I believed in. And my professor gave me a D. And I appealed to him, and he said, that's the grade. And I appealed to the department chair, the Hakwajang, with my test score, with my test. And he said, when I teach this class, that's a B. I said, but I got a D. He said, you know why? He said, your ego. You know what that professor wants, and you didn't give it to him. Your ego said you're smarter than the professor. You deserve that D. I got a D in my class, in my major. And you know what? When you go to work, your teamjang is going to be the same way. Your guide, your senior is going to be the same way. Do it this way. For guys who are in the Army, you know what I'm talking about. There's one way to fold your clothes. Fold it that way. It doesn't matter if your way is better. This is the Army way. The second kind of self-introduction is your business future. Now, most of the people who got this class, got this question, got it confused. But it was your assignment. You're in a seminar. You meet somebody. You have your name card in your hand. Hi, my name is Robert Dickey with Gamyoung University. Nice to meet you. Here's my card. That's all. Because your card has all the information. What department, what's your phone number, you know. Then it's question and answer time. Oh, Samsung Electronics, or Gamyoung University. Are you in the Seongso campus? No, I'm actually in the Daemyeongdong campus. Or whatever. Right? Question and answer. Conversation. We don't want speeches. It's not a lecture class. Question number 2. So that's 2 points if you did give me what I want. 1 point if you had some problems, you struggled, but mostly you got the information that I wanted. Now again, if you freestyle, but you give me the information that I want and not too much more, that's okay. Okay, I don't kill you if you do it a different way. I kill you if you don't give me what I want. My suggestion is a way to do it fast, easy, less stress. Question number 2 was about your company. So I probably said, well, you got your card, right? Okay, what does your company do? We spent half a class talking about this. And company history. Company history was one of your homeworks. One of your homeworks. Oh, good English. Was one of your homework assignments. What does your company do? We talked about a lot. There was a section in the book that talked about the things the company does. What your company does is not what you do. What your company does is the product or services that your company is famous for. If you work at the guchung, you are local government for residents of Dalsa-gu district, Dalsa district. You provide basic local government services. Please don't say administrative services, because that's only part of what government does. Okay? Administration sounds like paperwork. Local government is supposed to help people. The government is giving families a bonus money, coupon kind of money during this coronavirus time to help them have money. That's not administrative. That's money. Please don't say administrative services. If you work in the 동사무소 or the 행복, what do they call it? 행복, 복지관, something like that. That's not your company. Your division, your branch is not your company. Your company is the whole. If you work for Daegu Gwangyukshi Sicheong, you work for the city of Daegu. What's the history of the city of Daegu? I have competing information. Some students have said 1910. Some students have said something later, 1960, something, I don't remember. I haven't looked it up. I mean, I've seen the website years ago, but I haven't looked recently. What's the history of your organization? You don't know? If it's your own place, you have to create one. You had homework. And I had people say, oh, it's in my homework. Can I look it up? This is a test. I said it's open book, it's open notes. I also said if you have homework, put it in your notebook. Things I put up on the CTL, you can't look at it during the test, it's not convenient, but you could put it in your notebook and flip to it really fast. Your notebook helps you. Now, if you use a PDA, a smartphone, you have everything in there, and you can negotiate that, you can find stuff fast in that, good for you. I'm old. I'm a paper person. I use electronics for a lot of stuff. But when I want to find stuff fast, a paper notebook works better for me. For me. But if electronic works better for you, great. If you have 15 minutes for a test, and you had 8 questions, you can't afford to spend 2 minutes looking for an answer. What does your company do? Gamyeong-dongsan Hospital provides health services to our patients. Our hospital is I don't know this, I'm guessing. Dongsan Hospital is the newest and largest hospital in the greater Daegu area. It was also a coronavirus care facility. Gamyeong-dongsan Hospital is a 5-star or full service, whatever the heck they call it, rank 5, Gogup, whatever the hell they call it, full service hospital, which also means that for people who are looking for just the most basic visit to a doctor, they should go to a local clinic before they come. The emergency room is open to all, but basic healthcare services need a referral. That's new government law. All right. So what does your company do? Provide healthcare services. What's your company history? Gamyeong-dongsan Hospital was originally founded in 1899 as a clinic in the downtown area of Daegu. Some years later, 1920 or something like that, opened the hospital called Dongsan Hospital in Junggu. It grew, and in 2019, the new hospital on the Gamyeong University Songso campus was opened. Talk for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 3-4 sentences. It was your homework. Homework has a reason. Okay, question number 3 was canceled. It was about the good young public servant for a day. Question number 4. What is the difference? Client, customer, citizen, and patient. Client, customer, citizen, and patient. Now, a few people wanted to talk about the picture that I drew, but I didn't ask you to tell me about my picture. I asked you to talk about the situation. And the picture was a kind of an explanation, but it's not a perfect explanation. So, a lot of people learn to talk about reservation, making a reservation. Well, that's one of the factors. But that is not the most important factor. It shouldn't be the first thing you say. If you want to start with client, should start with something like, client suggests that there are professional services and a dependency relationship. That the client can't easily just jump to another service provider. They need the expertise, the professional expertise, and there is a client folder or history, so the expert becomes very knowledgeable about your circumstances. That's different from a customer type relationship. Customers can go anywhere. Customers can change stores anytime. And some people, including my mother-in-law, jump from one doctor to the other, to the other, to the other. They go to one clinic and another, and that makes it very hard. Please understand that the professional is not a client. Client is the 고객님, right? The difference is a customer is not using professional services, does not have a professional dependency type relationship, does not have a long-term relationship. And by the way, usually with client services, the professional has advanced education and licensure, and the client often needs to make a reservation. Now, a citizen is, of course, a person who has the right to vote and theoretically can control government. The reason we talk about it is because government has tried to move from a dependency relationship where the government had all the power and the citizen was more like a weak, I can't do anything. I tried to balance it to more of a customer relationship where customer is king. The feeling, the mind, when you go to a barber shop to get your hair cut, the barber knows that if you're not happy, you'll go to a different barber shop. So the customer is king. It doesn't mean that the customer can tell City Hall what to do exactly, but it means that the government needs to have a mind that citizen is customer is king. In the patient relationship, which is the last thing and is the hardest to explain, we would say, well, patient is kind of a dependency relationship. It's much more like a client. But theoretically, a patient can change doctors, can change hospitals. A citizen can't change service providers. If you live in Nam Cheong Dong, you can't go to the Bukmyeon Dong Samuso. You have to go to the Dong Samuso in your neighborhood. So citizens can't really shop, but the mindset is government should treat citizens like customers. So number 2 actually has a lot of talking involved. I didn't expect everybody to get everything right, but if you got a bunch of that, if you showed that you understood what was going on, you got your 2 points. If you fumbled around and kind of got some of it, you probably got 1 point. And if you obviously didn't know what the heck you were talking about, you got 0. Question number 5. What is cognitive load? This seemed to be the hardest question for most of the students. And why do we care in a content-based class? Well, I gave a hint for people who were kind of lost, and I said, like this, which I don't know if that shows right for you, maybe like this. But anyway, the idea that language goes this way, content or subject matter goes this way, and we have this thing here, this kind of balancing. First, what is cognitive load? Cognitive means brain work. Your brain is working. Load means burden, how hard it's working. So cognitive load is about how hard your brain is working. Why do we care in a content-based class? Because we have to balance so that a person can handle the class. If the subject is really complicated, we need to make the language a little simpler. If the language is really complicated, we need to keep the subject a little simpler. And the ideal answer includes, but every person is different. So for some people the content will be harder, and for some people the content will be easier, and some people the language is harder, and some people the language is easier. So it's not true for everybody, but we care. And, by the way, when you're dealing with technology, that's one more thing to add to cognitive load. If you're not great with computers, if you get stressed in Zoom, especially in a test, right? It adds to the brain working, which is a bad thing. Brain is working too hard. Question number 6. Tell me, there's 3 options, A, B, and C. Option A, tell me 3 parts of R&D. Explain, give me an example. 3 parts of R&D are applied, basic research, applied research, and development, or product development. Basic research is what usually happens in universities. It's where there isn't any attention to the useful output. It is research for the sake of science. Applied research is when we take that basic research and we say, I think I can do something with that. Maybe we can do this. This could be useful. And finally, product development is when we take that applied research, we say, yeah, we can sell this. Now we need to refine it. We need to change it a little bit to find what people want. The example I gave in the recording was Post-it notes. Post-it notes, which started off as a mistake. Glue that was not able to do what they wanted it to do. It was glue that was kind of sticky. It would stick to paper, but it would come off really easy and it wouldn't tear the paper. I'm reaching for my Post-its. Right? Post-its. It comes off easy, it goes back on, it comes off easy, it goes back on, it comes off easy, it comes back on, right? And it stays. The glue was a mistake. They were trying to find a different kind of glue. But somebody else said, hey, that's kind of, they just made notes. They made little note paper, took imenji, scratch paper, and slapped some glue on it, and then used that to put on an official document they didn't want to write on. And then the boss could see it and go, oh yeah, okay, I see your comments. And when the product development team saw it, they said, we can sell that. Right? So it went from pure research, basic research, doing glue stuff, to applied research. Well, let's see how we can use it. We can make these little sticky notes. And started using them and using them around the shop. And then product development said, okay, what do we need to do to make that sell? Well, yellow is kind of good because it's easy to see. And if you haven't noticed, if you put a yellow Post-it on a piece of paper and put it in a photocopier, for most of the good Post-its, the yellow is so light, it comes out on the photocopier like white. Beautiful, you can't even see it. But then they started using other colors because they found that people wanted to buy more colors. So product development continues and continues. That's 3 parts of R&D. Option B on question 6. Some people got question A, some people got question B, some people got question C. B was, tell me about fast-tracking employees. Why are managers afraid? Okay, the key point for fast-tracking is not C-suite. I said if you keep fast-tracking, you could make the C-suite, but not everybody did. Remember, A, B, C, D, E. Some of them leveled off before that. Fast-tracking is about giving people challenges, giving people opportunities to succeed that will lead to promotion. And those opportunities are given to a few people, the fast-trackers, but most people don't get that chance. They won't get that chance until later. Or they may never get that chance. So in a pure civil service kind of organization, You come in at Gugup, and after 8 or 9 years, maybe you get your promotion to Pagup. And after 8 or 9 more years, maybe they say, okay, you have the chance to take the test to be Chilgup. Or maybe in your organization there's no test and you just get promoted. But it's by time. But the guys who are promoted fast because they've shown they're good. Well, how did they show they were good? Maybe because they did things on their own and showed the boss. But other times because the boss thinks, this guy's pretty good. I have this thing I need to do. Instead of giving it to Jones, who's more senior, I'm going to give it to Smith, who's junior but seems really bright, and I'm going to let Smith give it a try. And he hit a home run, He did a great job. So I got my eye on Smith. I think Smith's an up-and-comer. Smith, the next chance I have to give somebody a chance to succeed, I'm going to give it to Smith again. Yeah, Smith is doing more work and he's succeeding. So when it comes time for promotion, well, Jones has got 15 years in and Smith's got 6 years in, and Smith got the promotion. That's fast tracking. So why are managers afraid? Because managers are afraid that if somebody is really good, they will get their job. Or they will get promoted to a similar job, and then a few years later they'll get promoted past them, and I'm still working as a teamjang, and he got promoted to kwajang or gaejang. I guess gaejang in Korean makes better sense. So I was his teamjang, and then he got promoted to be a teamjang similar to me, different team, and then he got promoted to gaejang above me. It was my job. It should have been me. I should be gaejang. He's 4 years junior to me. Well, that's why managers are afraid of fast tracking. C. Does business work better with a tie? Yes or no? Why? I think one person got the variation, which is, what do you think about Dress Down Friday? But it's the same thing I was looking for. Do you think a tie improves work? Yes or no? What is your thinking? And I don't really care what your thinking is. Anything is good, and I tried to enter into a discussion. So a few students said, yeah, it's better because this is Korea and because we have to be very professional at work. Well, okay. Other people said, no, because we should be comfortable at work. That's an argument, no? I hope for more than just one. We should be comfortable at work. Oh, why? So C sounds like a really easy question, but I'm expecting some arguments, expecting some ideas, and I was pretty disappointed in number 6. Not that many people got 2 points on number 6. Question number 7 was looking backwards. Your homework was from age 60. My aim here was to make you think. And, something live that you hadn't thought about before. Okay, so now the content load is increasing because I'm forcing you to think about something you haven't thought about before, probably. And I'm wanting you to use present perfect, which some students do very well, but some students don't. So there was a language side. And a lot of people gave really interesting stories, but they always talked about past. They didn't use any PP. So they didn't get 2 points. What have you done since high school? Now you're a university student. You're a second year, third year, fourth year university student. So since high school. Now you could include high school in there. I didn't say since high school graduation. So you could have talked about high school, but I think nobody did. Or you could have talked about your years in university, your 6-month studying in Philippines, your 2 years in the army, your 1 year off to work because you needed money, the classes you took, the hagwon you did, the boyfriend you broke up with. Everything is fine. PP, present perfect. Part B was now you're 35. What have you done? I didn't set a front date. It could have been since childhood. But I expected people would be talking about, well, I have graduated from university, I have gotten 4 licenses, and I have started my job. I have moved to Suwon, where my company is located, right? Have, PP, up to this time, but not stating exactly when. And the third version was, one was since high school, meaning kind of like you're now. Number 2 is now you're 35, what have you done? The third one was now you're 80. What have you done since you retired? So before you had one up to 60, but let's say at 60 you retired, or 55 you retired, or 65 you retired. I'm professor, I can retire at 65. What have you done since then? Okay. So it was challenging because it was forcing you to think. I got a mogi in my room. It's 10:45. Question 8. There's A with 2 variations, A and we'll call it A and B, and then there's question C. A is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of working by video conferencing? The B version of that is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of studying by video conferencing? Now, you could use some of the information from the book. You could use some of the information from your life experience, like this semester's classes, right? Please understand that a recorded lecture is not video conferencing, but Zoom is considered video conferencing. What do you want to talk about? You could talk about stress, you could talk about lack of personal relationship, you can talk about convenience, not having to travel, saving money. C, tell me about a commuter cup, or tell me about commuting, or if you live next to campus, are you commuting? I'm trying to get you to think about that word commute and commuter cup. So commute, if you said you live next to campus and you walk 5 minutes in your commute to school, well, that is possible. Most people would say a commute is longer, but commute isn't so strictly defined. So I'm kind of trying to ask you, so is that a commute? Why or why not? Oh, it's too short. Oh, well, okay. And then what's a commuter cup? No tip, no slip, no spill. It's often wider on the bottom, or it has some kind of a carrier hook so that it won't tip over as you travel. Okay, no spill often means it has some kind of cover on the top. Question 8 was supposed to be easy. Question 9 was straight from our Zoom class, the last Zoom before the test. In that there was a discussion where you were supposed to decide whether you would agree for the promotion of the more experienced person in the company with lower education, or the person who was newer to the company but had more education. Now, in the test, I suggested that the more experienced, less education was older, because I was trying to help you a little bit. But in the reading, it never said they were older. So think about it this way. If somebody went to junior college, a woman, let's say, went to junior college, straight out of high school, she started her work at age 20. And she worked at the company for 12 years. She's now age 32. Another person went to university, went to graduate school. And it could be a man or a woman, went to the army, whatever. But let's say this person joined the company at age 30. And they're now 32. So the experienced person is 32 and the less experienced, more education person is 32. There's no difference. We're not hiring a fresh person who knows nothing. They've only worked at the company 2 years. It doesn't mean they know nothing, but it means they don't have all the knowledge about the informal networks. I'm sure you read about these kinds of formal and informal networking in your organizational theory class, organizational behavior class. Bakse Jung has taught that class many times. Informal networking. You know where things are. You know who to ask informally to get things done when the formal system maybe doesn't work very well. I didn't really care who you hired or who you promoted. I wanted to hear your thinking. Why? And very often it came down to because the younger person is smart. Well, maybe smart, but maybe it's book smart. So there were a couple people who said, oh, it's only book smart. We need the people who have experience in the company. Well, maybe, but if your job is to do a lot of computer stuff, and you don't know it and you need the training, remember in the book there was actually a question and answer where it said she will need training. The experienced woman didn't know how to do some technology stuff. That is part of what we could have talked about. If you were paying attention in the book, that not that you have to use that information. I wasn't asking about Ms. Blah and Mr. Blah, the names Martin or whatever, but the ideas you could pull from there. 2 points, 1 point, no point. That was your midterm interviews. And you've got your numbers there so you can have an idea what kind of score you got. Now, all of these interviews were recorded on Zoom. So theoretically, if we really had to, we could dig up that Zoom and watch it. That's kind of a pain. I have to find out when you did your test, but it's possible. If you really want to know your interview, send me a cacao. We'll dig it up. But it's a lot of work. If you want more input on your performance, well, then I'll have to look at the video anyway. So it is possible. Oh, excuse me. I don't want to tell you no, but I am going to say it's not going to happen this week because this week I'm pretty busy. But it could happen next week if you really want to know the details of your test. As it is, all I have is a piece of paper like this. Let's see if we can get this to show. It has a name, and I don't want to show the name, so I'm going to turn it back like this. And it has a number for each question. Question 1, 2, you can see 3 is Xtel, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then a total. That's all I have. As I'm interviewing, at the end of each discussion, before I start the next question, you saw me lean down. I was writing the number for that question. Alright, it's 57 minutes, and I was planning to start chapter 5 tonight, but you know what? I still have another recording to do, and I'm tired, so I think we are going to stop. In the Zoom class, we will take a look at page 26, and we will move forward. I want to remind you again, please do watch the video, hopefully before our class meeting Thursday at, oh my gosh, 10:30 a.m. 10:30 is really not that early, but if you're working late nights, it's a little early. Thank goodness I'm doing this work from home, because if I had to travel to Daegu, that means I have to get up before 6:30 in order to get to my office before 10:30. It's hard when you work past midnight. Alright, that's all for tonight. I hope that was helpful. Good night.